A lot of people don't realize this, but Neil the Seal is metaphorically what we all want to be, or wish we were and maybe hope to become. And here's why. Number one, Neil is real. Neil is fun. Neil makes fun of everyone. This little sweet potato is most certainly saving people's mental health out there. Number two, everyone knows when to anticipate his annual appearance. He doesn't ask for an invitation. He doesn't even need one. He just shows up. Number three, Neil is someone you would want to party with. Go hard, destroy things, then take a nap and repeat. My personal fave, he's the opposite of skinny trends. He's proof that it's actually more fun to get massive and smash stuff. We also love to love Neil because he hates all things vertical. And that's something all of us who are adulting out there in life can relate to. Horizontal life for life. He's also creating new jobs in Tasmania. SEAL Curity 24/7 support team, anyone? I would sign up for it. Guys, this is Neil's world. We are just living in it. But on a serious note, please love Neil from afar. If you must visit, do not get close. Do not even think about touching. This giant ocean puppy needs to be protected at all costs, and it's up to us.
Everybody loves Neil, the seal. Everybody loves Neil, the seal. I called my boss and mate, this is real. I'm blocked in the driveway by Neil, the seal. 1,000 kilos, having a snooze, knocking down signs like he's been on the booze, treating Tassie suburbs like they're his own, making love to traffic cones. Neighbors cheer like he's kicked the winning goal. On your Neil as another ballad rolls. He's got 1.4 million TikTok fans. Everybody loves Neil on the sand. Traffic cones are basically his Tinder. Every fence gets swiped right each winter. He's Australia's biggest viral deal. Everybody loves Neil the seal. Everybody loves Neil the seal. Other young seals wrestle mates all day. Neil's got fences standing in the way. His friends live thousands of kilometers south, so he flops on anything like it's his couch. Every pole in Tassie's got a restraining order. The council says Neil back to the water. Telephone box, yeah, that'll do. Poor bloke just wants to call a crew. He doesn't want the fame or flashing lights. He just wants seal mates by his side at night. But instead he's trending everywhere. Hobart's biggest superstar without a care. He's got better approval ratings than the PM. Hobart's unofficial mayor, everyone backs him. My toxic trait, if he knocked on my fly screen door, I'd unlock it before he hit the floor. If perimenopause was an animal, it'd probably be him. A beautiful blubbery disaster potato with a grin. He needs his own TV show. Netflix, come on, give Neil a go. He's got 1.4 million TikTok fans. Everybody loves Neil on the sand. Traffic cones are basically his Tinder. Every fence gets swiped right each winter. He's Australia's biggest viral deal. Everybody loves Neil the seal. He'd trade every viral reel just to hang with another elephant seal. From the beaches to every pub and meal, everybody loves Neil the seal. Neil, Neil, Neil. Everybody loves Neil the seal. Neil, Neil, Neil. Mayor of Hobart, what a legend. Neil, Neil, Neil. King of the coast, prince of the poles. Everybody loves Neil the seal.
Welcome in, everyone. I just thought I'd start with that. I came across that last night on Instagram, and I thought it's brilliant. There's a lot of people who've put songs out there for Neil the Seal, but that one's just, it's very catchy. So I had to play it, and yes, it is quite possible that there may be a clip that gets attached to that so that it becomes part of the playlist. Yeah, there you have it. And the clip before that is Lex in Wonderland. She's an American living in either the Gold Coast or Brisbane or somewhere up north like that. She's on like Instagram, Facebook. I don't know if she's on Facebook. I know she's on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, and she's actually quite funny. She puts out little shorts, little reels every day, and I'm always looking for her as well. So welcome in, everyone. Sorry if I haven't said hello to you. I haven't said hello to Dodie and Ariel. I know that. And I'm just going to say hello to Camilla anyway, even though I can't see you. So you probably figured out why I have Minnie Mouse as my background today for this video. Those of you who were up with us at like 1 o'clock this morning watching the press conference, the news on Javea is worse than we could have possibly imagined. And I realise I've probably put her name wrong there, but I made this at like 1:30 this morning. It's devastating news. I'm just going to read this one bit. The press conference is there on my playlist in my live streams. If you missed it, there's also updates. They've now both been charged with, where are my notes? They've both been charged with destruction of human remains, which maximum sentence is only 10 years, but that will be on top of all the other charges. They're both in court again on the 28th of August at 9 a.m. and on the 23rd of October at 10 a.m. And I will live stream them if they're covered. So another couple of late nights for me. Yeah, Dodie, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep after hearing the news. It was just, I still haven't processed it. I don't understand it. It's not human. So I'm going to read this. Your birthday's 3 days after mine. Mine's the 25th of August. Oh, that's pretty cool. I know that Chelsea is a Virgo as well, but I'm not sure when her birthday is. I'll have to find out. There's a few of us Virgos around, or I'm sort of like, half Virgo, half Leo. I'm kind of on the cusp. Yep. Honestly, I think people like that should be not allowed any sort of privileges when they're locked up. Because it's just inconceivable. I think the biggest thing for me is the fact that the woman was in her 3rd trimester. Now, we don't know how far along because we still don't know exactly when this happened, but she was in her 3rd trimester. Like, how can you not be maternal and full of all these mothering hormones? Look, just to prove it, Grover is here. Yeah, maybe Grover is a superhero or a mutant. Okay. I'm going to read this. I'm going to try and read this anyway. So I showed this area yesterday in my live stream, not in my live stream, in my video. And I think I'm going to be yawning a lot through this, sorry. I showed this area yesterday in my video before the live stream. This is the area where they were searching, and it did, I agree with what this journalist is saying. This is the area in Fairfield County where it is now confirmed they found a few remains. Sheriff Marty Sawyer says they do not expect to find more. He says the parents used corrosive chemicals and other tools to accelerate the decomposition of her body. And I need to get this banner off so I can read the rest. He said those remains were poured into the water. I've got no words. There are absolutely no words for this. I don't know what to say. So hence the reason that today's background is Minnie Mouse. So, yeah, that will haunt me forever. They will never get out. They are monsters. They truly are. It was confronting hearing him say that. But, you know, poor little thing, she just deserved better than that. Yeah. They are despicable people. They just... when the judge... And I'm going to cover that. I will cover the... Oh, sorry. I am yawning so much. I will also do a quick video after this, just covering the court appearance that happened after the press conference. But the judge basically said to them that they are a danger to the community, and so they will not be getting any bond. That's the thing. How can you do that to your own child? That reservoir is the town's drinking water? Oh, no. Welcome in, Dawn. Yeah, I think a lot of us have been extremely traumatised by hearing the sheriff refer to them pouring her remains in. Yeah, I mean, it is emotionally draining. It really is. I mean, here I was only a few weeks ago saying that, Lily and Jack might be my last children's case that I cover for a while. And this one is it just gets worse. I honestly didn't think with Melody's case that we could come across anything more evil. Yeah, there's so many words that we all want to say that we can't because YouTube wouldn't like it. Oh wow, Dodie, that one's a horrible one too. Oh my gosh, I've got to stop yawning. Case about a father who burned his little girl in a car. How do people do that? Yeah, and the people responsible for recovering her remains, my heart goes out to them too, because I can't imagine going through that. That's something that will give them nightmares. And, it explained why there were so many people standing there behind the sheriff, because they were standing there for Javea. Anyway, I'm going to move on from that. I will be putting out a video later. Yeah, actually, That's a really good point. They were phenomenal, the way they handled this case. If you manage to, if you do send them an email, and you find the email address, can you send it to me? I am, some of the government pages in the United States, I find myself having trouble accessing. But I would also like to email them and just, say, hello from the other side of the world and thank you so much. 93 degrees feels like 109 in Kissimmee, Florida. Yeah, I could imagine. Well, that's the normal thing. That's what I can't understand. How can she be in her third trimester and do all these things? It makes no sense. It really shows what a monster she is. Yes. The pink ties, the pink shirts, and the little pink ribbon badges for the press conference, that was wonderful. Yeah, I thought that was really touching. And I knew the moment they walked out with their pink ties and things, I knew they were going to tell us they'd found remains. I just wasn't expecting what they told us. But then how could any of us expect what they told us? Because it's inconceivable when a child goes missing and you hear that the parents are responsible. The last thing you're expecting to hear is what we were told. Yeah. Yeah, they cared more about her than her parents did. And again, when I was editing the live stream and playing the outro and Kylie Rodney's song came up again, and I was like, this song just fits so much for this little girl as well. That'd have to be surely, I mean, surely something like that would have to be involved to make people do something like this. It's just, I cannot wrap my head around it. Anyway, I want to mention a case. Hey, Holly. Yeah. It's a really hard one to wrap our heads around. Yeah, I knew, you don't call another press conference that soon unless you've found her. And the fact that they had finished searching out by that reservoir also, showed us a lot. Yeah, and there is something on Facebook, and I need to look to find what it is, because, I was looking at it after the live stream, so, at 1:30 in the morning or something. There is a call out for some sort of new legislation. Even down to any time there is a call out for a DV situation, then in my opinion there needs to be a major assessment if there are children involved. Now, I know they'd never go for it, but in my opinion, if there is a call out for a DV situation, I think the children should be put in temporary care while a full investigation is done into the household. And only when the household is cleared as being safe for children should they be returned. And then there should be close monitoring. Because we had 2 situations where law enforcement were called out before this little baby before they did what they did to her. I don't know what other changes could have been made. I don't know if there were any other red flags, because it sounds like they kept themselves fairly isolated from the community. Javea was too young to be at school. Yeah, they don't deserve that title. They don't deserve to be called parents or mother and father, because they're not. Now, I wanted to just quickly bring up a case that's not getting any attention. These 2 girls are Kia and Ariana Eliason. Now, I've got one article. There's so little about this case. I don't think it's been... The media hasn't got hold of it yet, really. And I don't think there's been a lot of attention paid to it in terms of they've only been missing since July the 6th. So only, a few days. And I think the reason probably that no one's picking up on it is because the father is claiming that they have disappeared before. But I do want to just kind of mention it at least, because I don't know, when they're saying 11-year-olds are missing and they're saying they've gone missing before, there's something going wrong here. And I hope they are found safe. So this is a missing persons case out of northern Idaho, and this has grabbed the attention of many this week. Due to its unique circumstances, it's not often we hear of twins that have gone missing together, but this is a scenario that is presently playing out in Boundary County. 11-year-old twin girls have been reported missing by their father in northern Idaho. The girls, whose names are Kia Jo Eliason and Ariana Lynn Eliason, remain missing after nearly 3 days. They were last seen near Copeland Road, Highway 1 on Monday, July 6. The father shared information about the girls on Tuesday, which was picked up by multiple sources, including Idaho Missing Persons Alerts and Voice for the Voiceless. Just go on. According to the details shared by IMPA, the girls have blonde hair, are approximately 4'2" and weigh roughly 85 pounds. One of the girls was wearing a pink backpack when last seen leaving the residence. Concern has been growing for the girls' safety due to area fires. According to information shared by IMPA, authorities are asking drivers to keep eyes open along Highway 1 in the Boundary County for any sign of the girls. It concerns me. I mean, 11-year-old girls don't normally run away, if that's what's being implied. For 11-year-olds, if they have willingly run away and gone into hiding, something is wrong. Welcome in, Ernestine. Yeah. 11-year-olds do not run away. And I can't help wondering if, I mean, there's no information about this case. I can't find any other information at this point in time. But I want to know why they would run away. Or is this another one of those cases where we get the victim blaming at the beginning and something has happened to them, and this is just a variation on, I think they were abducted? Because in a lot of partner violence cases, usually the excuse, the story is, oh, they left, they ran away. Usually with children, they're suggesting they were abducted. Yeah, they're saying that they have possibly run away before. Welcome in, spinning yarns. Spinning yarns. Sorry. You ran away when you were 9, Dodie. Wow. It's very young to be. Rebecca Baptiste's parents said she ran away too. I have to look into that case. The name's familiar, but it's not. It's not really connecting in the brain. But then not a lot's connecting in the brain this morning. Although I am wondering if Bonza slept, because last I checked, before I fell asleep, she was still posting things. And then when I got up this morning, she'd posted Arizona. I'll have to look into that one. And same with, we'll just look at Sebastian. Didn't they claim that he ran away? Jaden Spicer, they claimed that he ran away, that he just kind of ran away in the middle of the night. It seems to me that it is, in those cases, it's a strategy for, it's victim blaming for starters, but it's also a way of downplaying the disappearance. Like, oh, they've run away before, they'll turn up. I hope these little girls are safe, and I hope they're found. But I did just want to mention it. I did want to bring it up. It's one that I'll be just keeping an eye on in the background. There's another case that I started looking at last night, which I will cover in a separate video. But it seems to be a case of a bunch of teenagers in, I think it was Mississippi, went over to an island somewhere just to hang out, and they're all giving different stories about heading back from the island without this one particular boy who's now missing. It's kind of suspicious, and I'm going to do some videos on that. Welcome in, Summer Breeze. What do I think happened to Summer? To Summer Wells? I think something happened either at the lake or in the car heading home. I don't believe that Summer Wells was alive when they returned to the property. I look at that photo of her lying on the milk bottle, or like the cold milk bottle, and it looks all wrong. And when Candace starts talking about her getting out of the car, that's all wrong too. It's like it is so much like a constructed narrative. Welcome in, Rochelle. I might actually, before we get onto Jack and Lily, just let me check. I think I have that first interview for anyone who's not followed Summer's case. I do. For anyone who's not followed Summer's case and hears us talking about it a lot. Now, I'm not sure if this is the first interview, but I'm going to play some of this. And you'll see why it is that there's red flags all over this case. Yeah, when she jumped right up and got out of the car. It just sounds all wrong. It's so wrong.
I know she didn't walk away from this property by herself or off this yard by her swing. I feel in my heart that somebody has came up here and took her, has lured her away from here. Me and my mother and her were planting flowers.
She was so stoned when she did this interview, honestly.
And we went in after we got done washing our hands, and she got a piece of candy from Grandma, and she wanted to go back over and see her brothers. And I said, okay, and I walked her all the way over to the porch, and I watched her walk into the kitchen where the boys were watching TV. And I told the boys, I said, watch Summer, I'll be back.
I'm certainly going with either it was dry drowning or they got gummies for Candace and Summer got into them. Yeah, Chris said that there's no way abduction. Chris McDonough still swears he's not leaving the property, and I agree with him. She was so off the show when she did this.
And within 2 minutes I came back, and I asked the boys where their sister was, and they said, she went downstairs, Mom, to play with her toys in the playroom. I said, okay. And I yelled downstairs for her a couple times, and I didn't get no answer, which was unusual because usually she always answers me. And so I went down there to check, and she was nowhere in sight. She was just gone. I don't go on.
She was just gone. Yeah, she walked her. Now, if you've seen any of the footage of this property, the distance from the door of Grandis's RV to the door of the house is less than the cubby house, like where the woodshed is, less than that to the sliding door, for if you're thinking Lily and Jack. It's really, really short distance. I don't know. It depends. It would depend how many you had, I guess. When you're talking about an itty bitty little girl, I'm sure Don was home. Too many inconsistencies in terms of what's been said about Don for that day, because he was supposedly also looking after the boys and took them to work with him. So my thoughts are that he actually took the boys to work with him for the morning, and then he was home, and something probably did happen in that basement.
Walks around here or runs because I'm scared of the bears and snakes and even the coyotes that are around here. Well, whoever has my daughter, I pray and hope that they have not harmed her and they bring her back to us safe and sound.
Just go to the FBI, the police, and clear it up. I mean, I don't know, it seems kind of elusive.
It's really strange that I've never seen this truck, and I've never heard of it until just recently. But I wish they would come forward and explain themselves. And if you're not a suspect, at least come forward and say what you've seen. She was a tomboy. I shaved my head. She wanted to have her head shaved like me and the boys did.
She tried to shave her head
She tried
in
to
the
shave her
back
head
and make
herself.
it, I think you can see it in some of the pictures, and it was getting out of control, so
The stories are such BS as well. It doesn't look like we get the part where she jumped out of the car. I think that must have been with Chris McDonough. But I mean,
we
red
decided
flags
to shave her
everywhere.
head off and let it grow back long, and she shaved her head so she wouldn't feel bad. But
I'm not going to play the full interview today because I do want to get back to Lily and Jack. But this pair is sus as F. No emotion. And I will definitely get that clip and play it where she talks about her jumping out of the car and like running inside or whatever it was. And the story's it just does not add up. Does not add up at all. Wow. Oh, geez, I wish I could get some gummies for sleep. I wish we could get gummies here in Australia. Yeah, that was one of the things that was said because they shaved all the kids' hair and someone said they had lice. And even like Candace and Don gave different stories around that as well. Everything, different stories, contradictions. I just hope now that the FBI is involved that we get some justice for this little baby. Yeah, no little girl wants to shave her head. Some of it was very girly too, and that's the thing. It's just another BS story from this pair. Okay, let's get back to someone who is actually a decent individual. Let's restore our faith in the world. Oh, the house. Honestly, yeah. I should actually maybe do a few live streams on Summer's case because I think people who haven't seen her case would just find it mind-blowing. It was... Now, Candace has had an older daughter removed. And I think it was Mary who came out and said that about... Possibly Mary said it. Mary is Donwell's sister, and she's been an advocate for Summer from day one. And it has been said that Don tried to sell one of his kids to get rugs. They are not suitable parents, and I'm so glad that boys were taken away and never given back. Oh dear. I can't picture which one is which precisely. But Don and Candace look like Ma and Pa Gorg from Fraggle Rock. I'm going to have to find those ones specifically. You should see my notebook after a live stream. It's always a mess. Yeah, I think the story was that Don, and wasn't it like a baby or something? He wanted to get rugs, so he tried to sell. CPS should have removed, and this is another child where CPS acted too late. It's just, we're at breaking point. Something's got to change. Okay, let's have some Belynda, because I think we need some positivity. We need someone to restore our faith in the world right now.
Age-old question, right? Why would...
And yes, I've run it back just a little bit, just to go through for what we listened to at the end yesterday, just to go through that and then keep going.
Janie state that to you? Why would Daniel state to you? Why would Janie state to Darren about shushing the kids, and then later deny the whole thing, right?
Yeah, Daniel told me that on the 17th when I was standing in his driveway. He didn't just tell me that she heard a shushing sound. He actually put his fingers up to his lips to demonstrate the sound.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, I said, he said that he believed Cindy and Haley have something to do with it, because he said none of it adds up. He's been thinking about it, and it just doesn't add up. And he thinks Cindy and Haley took them. And
I love the way when Daniel's trying to deflect, anytime he's trying to aim things at Malaya and her family, he throws in, it just doesn't add up. Yes, it adds up. Daniel, we can all add it up, but apparently you can't. Yeah, I must admit, I'm hoping we don't end up still talking about this case in 5 years' time, like we do with Summers. But I don't think that's going to be the case, touch wood. I mean, you know, old Ronnie, he couldn't be bothered, I think. I think he just completely dropped the bundle when it came to Summer. Yeah, I don't know. We know that it's privately owned. But I don't think we've been told who owned that building. Oh, wow, Deborah, I can't put that up on the screen, but that's something I hadn't heard about. Wow. Wow. I mean, you know, Don Wells and Stephen Stearns have got a lot in common. Way too much in common.
then I said, well, what about Malaya? Do you think she played a part in it? And he said he didn't know. But he said, I'm telling you right now, it just doesn't add up.
Did you say nothing that you say adds up, buddy?
Yeah, well, like I said.
No, I know. Yeah.
And the other strange thing about that day is when I started walking into the driveway, we parked out by the road, and I started walking into the driveway. I had just made it to go and handy the trailer when Janie stepped out, and she asked me, she said, who are you and what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
I love this. I love the way handy is used here. Is it only a Nova Scotia thing, or is it also in other parts of Canada? Because I was flummoxed, like the other day when she said handy dinner time, and I'm like, what's handy dinner? But now I get it. But I love it. It's just, it's different. Yeah, I do too. I think from that last press conference that Rob McCorman did, I think we are going to see a resolution. It's possible that I was saying that we would probably see it before the end of the year, but with Daniel's case being pushed back, it may take longer, but I hope not. Welcome in, Princess Pillow. So that no, the building is not on Janie's property. The property line for Janie is where that road cuts through. So the road that goes up and then goes along the back of her property and kind of hits the pipeline trail, that's the boundary for Janie's property. I have got property boundaries somewhere, and I will do that in a live stream. But the cabin is a different property, not Janie's property. Now, we're getting to a really interesting part here from Belynda that I'd never heard. And this certainly plays into the children being up in the woods, like having gone up to their little fort in the woods. Yeah, I think it's insane. Why would you care? Why would you care when it's not your own property even? I mean, even if it was your own property, though, we've got 2 missing children. And she's like, well, it's private, so let's block it so no one can go up there. Yeah, I think so. I think they will be hoping that these charges stick, because if they can get them admissible at a trial when it comes to Lily and Jack, it certainly would help persuade a jury. The thing is, at this point in time, they're dealing with a no-body case. So they have to have a rock-solid case. So, anything that can bolster the case, they're going to use, which is why I think we're not going to see progress until after Daniel's case is, at least until we can see what's happening with Daniel's case, in my opinion. Anyway, let's hear what Belynda's got to say about the bank and the footprints and stuff.
And I just started to say who I was when Daniel opened the door and said, "It's okay, Mum. It's Belynda, Cody's mum." And I asked him if he'd mind talking to me. And he said no. And he stepped down, and we were standing there talking for a couple of minutes because I told him that I had a few questions and I couldn't get a hold of Malaya. And he said no. He said, let's talk out here further. He did not want to talk and hand you the trailer.
Right. Okay.
So he didn't want to talk within earshot of Janie, perhaps? Or was there someone else in the trailer that he didn't want to talk in front of? Yeah, it's so suspicious. Nobody who is innocent, who knows nothing about the location of the children, is going to see you don't need to search there. I've already searched there. They both look guilty. Oh, yeah. That's a good point. Maybe Durwood was there at the time as well. Maybe he didn't want Belynda to see Durwood. I mean, she wouldn't have known who he was at that point in time. Could have been Logan there. Yeah, she said, she made it quite clear, didn't she? She was like, I checked that schoolhouse myself, so they didn't need to check it. And like I said yesterday, I wouldn't be saying that. I'd be like saying, well, I checked it myself, but if you want to go back over there and check, because there's, there's a lot of woods around it. There's a rubbish pile. There could be something that I missed. Yeah, he didn't want Belynda to see or hear somebody, that's for sure, or vice versa. Definitely odd. Definitely. Now that's the truth too, because you have to give different versions of the story to different people. You're so spot on there. Yeah, and there's also a photo from, I think, from Chaucer that, like, I don't know where I've got it. I know I've got it somewhere, that shows it with a door and a padlock on it. I would like to see a photo of it without a door. But I don't think we're going to see that, just like we're not going to see photos of the inside of the bedrooms with no cupboards, or the inside of Jack and Lily's bedroom. Yes, yeah, it is. It's easier to influence, persuade, mislead a person when they're on their own. So true, so true. Hi, Belynda, welcome in. Yeah, well, last thing you think of when you are searching is, last thing you think of when you're searching is to take photos of, like, a building. Because at the time, that's not what the concern was. But I'm very, very interested in this building. But I'm very interested in these footprints on the bank. That's really got me interested. It certainly leads back into the possibility of the children having gone up into the woods at some point. Well, that's the thing. It was only the Saturday. You would still think... Sorry, no, I didn't pin that. Oh, catch you later, Bonza. Sorry, I just saw that. Your focus is on looking for the children. You're still hoping that they're going to be found. And, it's easy to look on things in retrospect and say, well, that was a bit of a warning. That was a bit of a red flag. But that's not what you think when you're looking for missing children. Anyway, a little bit more of this.
He didn't want to talk, he didn't want to talk in the trailer?
Yeah, he did not invite me in, and he didn't want us standing handy the trailer to talk. He said, let's go out in the driveway to talk.
Who was in the trailer?
I only seen his mom.
Oh, his mom was in the trailer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So she was, and then at one point, and correct me if I'm wrong, at one point I thought that you had said that you had been talking to Daniel, and then Janie came along and started talking to you.
No.
Okay.
No.
Daleen is asking you if Daniel ever showed you the footprint in the driveway.
Oh no, there's another point too. Yeah, Justin could well be a piece, a huge piece of the puzzle. I wonder, after our speculation of why did Daniel decide to take Belynda away from the trailer to talk to her, I wonder if it's possible that maybe Justin was inside with Janie. And he didn't want Belynda to spot Justin or hear him talking. Because certainly they are so defensive over Justin. And, you know, that's another one of the gaslighting things where they're like trying to say, oh, no, you know, Belynda must have misheard, or maybe her sister misheard, or they're really bending over backwards to convince people that Justin wasn't anywhere near. So it could well be that Justin was in there, and that's why he decided to not talk near the trailer. Just a thought. Yeah.
No, he didn't. He pointed to where it was.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me about Malaya calling the kids in, and he held his phone out. He did not show me, but he held his phone out, and he said, I got the message right here on my phone. And he
About-
said that she called the kids in sick and that he had no idea the kids were staying home that day.
Right.
Of course he's going to say that. Oh, he had no idea the kids were staying home that day. Let's deflect. Let's put it all back on Malaya. I mean, maybe he didn't. Maybe it was a last-minute decision on Thursday night when something happened. So just laughing at Amira, she just woke up and I think she's decided it's cold, so she's just waddling into the hallway to go into the go where the warm heater is. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot going on here, I have to say. Yes, all the stuff with Malaya is very performative. Both sides are trying to throw shade at each other and trying to act innocent. Anyway, moving on.
Now, going back to the Saturday or to the Monday or to the 17th, the time, the days that you were out there, did they ever, whether when you were talking to Janie or when you were talking to Daniel, did they ever make reference at all to Janie digging potholes? Or did she say, this, I wasn't
She told me that on the phone. Janie told me that on the phone. That she said she was filling in potholes.
Bingo. Thank you.
She said the same as me. I'm sitting there going, yep, bingo. That was the first story that came out that we all heard. That Janie was out filling potholes at nighttime. And people were asking, why would you be outside at nighttime filling potholes? And then all of a sudden, the story changes. Like, that doesn't sound suspicious. Honestly, these people, they keep changing their stories to the point where they seem to think that, for starters, none of it is still on the internet. But they seem to think that we have very, very short memories. Yeah, make that make sense. Filling in potholes in the dark, in the rain. And then raking for a pool. And the pool story evolved as well. Because I remember when the pool story first started happening, and I was saying, you're not putting a pool there because even if you have it level, those little bits of gravel are going to go through the bottom of that pool and you're going to have water all over the driveway. So what does Janie do? In the most recent thing with Charmaine, now she's talking about putting something down underneath and then putting the pool on top. Hidden in the fog. Susan does a great job of explaining Every Child Matters and the part that it doesn't play in with Jack and Lily missing. I haven't heard that. I'll have to try and let me know which one of her videos or live streams, or was it a separate one where she did that? Oh, I know. Can you imagine? Now, they have limited water on that property. So if you're going to put a pool in, you're going to put it in where the water's not going to get dirty, because you're not going to have the capacity to be changing the water every time the kids go in. There's no logic whatsoever to putting a pool on a driveway that's gravel, dirt. Everything is going to go wrong with that. Oh, thank you, Chelsea. You are a legend.
Thank you. And what time?
I thought she said that was in the evening towards night.
Thank you. And was it raining?
Yes, it was raining that evening and night, yes.
Thank you.
Ding, ding, ding. Susan who? This is Susan. This is who we are listening to right now, Hidden in the Fog. I can't think of her last name. But Susan, this is her channel. She's got a YouTube channel and a TikTok channel. She's done quite a few discussions where Belynda's come up on panel. I think she's done a few with Durwood. Yeah, I think most people refer to her as Hidden in the Fog. But, you know, in this one, quite often we hear her being referred to as Susan, and you might as well just go with that. So, yeah, this is Hidden in the Fog. And this is only recent. This was, I don't know when the actual live stream was on TikTok, but she put it up on Facebook, up on YouTube pretty much this week. Oh, exactly. Now, given that they only had a well on the property, what exactly was going to be the plan for the water? Because that's a question I'd like Janie to answer. There's so many questions that haven't really been answered about this fictional pool. Oh, you're locked out of Facebook? Geez, that sucks when that happens. Janie will say she was hoping the rain would fill the pool. Really? The fire department will actually deliver. That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Maybe in some regional areas in Australia, if you are friends with the local fire department, they might. But, you know, at the end of the day, we know there was no pool. There was never going to be a pool there. Usually the pool is bigger than 8 by 10. Well, that's the thing. I mean, you're not going to cart a load of water just for an itty-bitty pool. That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that initial story from Darren was absolutely true. And you see, this is what happened was Darren had stated, if you recall this, Belynda, when this story first broke, it was Darren that broke it. And he said,
Yes.
just sort of as an aside, in fact, he didn't even say it as some sort of like an announcement. He was talking about something else. And he said, well, you know, Janie had been out there, you know, that night and she was filling in potholes. And then he said, I mean, I still remember it vividly. And he said, you know, it wasn't big. It was little potholes at the side of the driveway. Not big, but little potholes at the side of the driveway. And it was raining. And if you recall, all of the creators went crazy. I mean, it was Janie's got a shovel, right? And then all of a sudden, the whole story turns that it wasn't at night, it was in the afternoon. It wasn't a shovel, it was a rake. And she was leveling the driveway. She wasn't filling in potholes.
Yeah, not just that. Somebody was in a chat. I never caught who it was. They made a joke about driving by the trailer and seeing lights on. And it was that's when Janie come out and stated that if you see me out there, I was filling in potholes.
So that whole driving by in the dark and seeing a light on thing was just a joke, and Janie basically dobbed herself in. That's brilliant. I actually couldn't remember. I do recall the discussion of someone driving by at night and seeing Janie raking in the driveway, but that's how it got to me. So I hadn't heard the original version, and that just shows you how quickly things get distorted in this case. Because, like I said, the version I heard was that someone actually had driven past and seen Janie filling potholes in the driveway in the dark. Whereas, now hearing from people who are actually in the group and know what was said, it was a joke, and Janie didn't realise it was a joke. Too brilliant. It's just mind-blowing, though. This is such a good... That's the same time that Daniel came out with the 12 Lights On story too. They really must have thought someone saw them. Paranoid. Because from day one, they keep coming out with new stories to explain when people... Yeah, the lights on at midnight. Every time someone questions something or points out something as being unlikely, there's a new story. Yeah, Janie was cleaning up. It certainly is what it sounds like. Unreal. And yeah, the light on at midnight. Paranoia. Thinking someone drove past. And I think too, the Daniel with the paranoia about being watched by drones and being surprised that they haven't turned up on YouTube. I think he's paranoid that maybe there's content creators who have been putting drones over the property, or who've got access to drones or something, and that they're going to come out with some incriminating evidence or something like that. He's probably caught wind of gossip about drones or something, and he's just trying to cover his ass there as well, in my opinion. The dog attack story, I don't think so. Not from the way RCMP talk about the case. Yeah, so many fabricated narratives. Even down to, you hear him on the Turkey show giving this detailed description of discovering that someone's put a hand through the hole in the bag, the rubbish bag out on the driveway, and ripped off a piece of the blanket. And he goes into so much detail over it. His big, long story. even down to, you know, Justin filmed him while he was doing it. So he's working really hard to establish this idea that the piece of blanket that was found was ripped from the blanket in the garbage bag. And then after everyone's slamming that and saying that's the dumbest story they've ever heard, all of a sudden we're being told again that actually, no, that piece of blanket was on the rail. And then suddenly a AI image appears showing a piece of blanket hanging over the rail. Yeah, no, just thinking out loud, didn't think it happened either. Yeah. Yeah, apparently Justin filmed Daniel discovering the hole in the garbage bag or something like that. And when the turkey guy basically put it on Daniel in terms of, well, I'd like to see that video. And Daniel's like, well, you know, Justin wants to stay out of this. And turkey guy's like, well, you know, he could just give the video to you. Again, no sign of that video. So, you know, yes, I would also like to know who broke the lock on the schoolhouse house. Yeah. There's a lot of. I hope they took the dogs around the schoolhouse and the cabin and everything too. I still believe that blanket was put in that bag after the strip was found in the tree, in my opinion. I think the reason Daniel originally told authorities or whoever it was that no, that wasn't, he didn't recognize the strip of blanket, I think that was out of panic. And I think that either Malaya or Daniel, when there weren't so many people around, put the rest of the blanket in the bag, in the rubbish. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually done on the Monday, because Janie talks about how after everyone was thrown off the property on the Saturday, that, you know, after that there was pretty much no one around. Now, you're not going to put rubbish out too early because you don't want bears getting into it. You don't want animals getting into it. So my thoughts are that bag of rubbish was put out Monday, probably Monday afternoon. They were expecting it was going to be collected on Tuesday. And I'd like to know where that piece of, that piece of blanket was until it was put in that bag. Because I don't think they were expecting the RCMP to turn up Monday evening and collect it. Either that or they threw that bit of the story in because there was pressure in terms of what they were being questioned. Oh, I haven't had a chance to look at the video that you sent me yet, Deafening Silence. I will certainly do that. Kind of busy day yesterday with so much. So every time you saw it, the door was there, Chelsea. It's odd that Janie's claiming there's no door. Again, we've had so much gaslighting from Janie and Daniel that how are we supposed to believe anything like that?
Those were her words, and I think that was into that Facebook group is when she first stated it.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And the person that stated that afterwards, they stated, "Calm down, Janie. I was just making a joke."
Mm-hmm.
As for the footprint, I never paid attention to that specific footprint in the driveway, but the kids' footprints were all over the embankment going up into the woods. There was children's footprints everywhere throughout there.
So I hadn't heard this until I was listening to this particular discussion. Is that the photo that you shared? The old peeled door? So the new lock and the latch were gone, but there was an old peeled door with boards across it. Interesting. Welcome in, Belynda believes. Rob McCammon has been pretty clear about that too, hasn't he? He definitely makes me feel confident. And I honestly believe, I know some people didn't see it that way, but I honestly believe that last press conference that he did, that they had something. He was feeling really pleased about something. Welcome in, Nonny. Good to see you. I don't know what they had, but he was like the cat that got the cream. So I think they were already confident that they were going to basically get an outcome with this case. But I think prior to that latest time when Rob McCammon came out and spoke, I think just before that, something happened. They got some bit of evidence, or they got a new witness, or something that I think has sealed the deal. Especially when you look at the other interviews that Rob has done, he always looked so exhausted. He looked like he was working 14, 16-hour days. And then just a huge change in his demeanor. Yeah, now that was a really good point, and I hadn't thought about that. You know, Janie talking about Daniel, waiting for Daniel to find his tools. And yet, you know, they, in this last lot of panels they did, one of them said that his tools were stored in that like front porch area at the front of the trailer. So it seemed odd for Janie to be saying that she had to wait for him to find his tools because, you know, should have been easy to find. Not that he needed any of those things, because Janie had made it clear that they were nailing those railings on. You never saw a drill over there either. Oh, wow. He sent me a link to you. I saw that Vinny had done another Maddie Soto thing. And I didn't realise that it was about public outrage over Jen. She should be in jail. Look, in simple terms, okay, money might not have changed hands, but she pimped out her daughter. She sent a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, who knows how early it started with her sending Maddie upstairs to sleep with Stefan. Because we know that night that she sent Maddie upstairs to sleep with Stefan, the night that he strangled Maddie, we know that wasn't the first time. Meaning that she was 12, definitely, when Jen was sending her and Stefan upstairs to sleep together. Like, honestly, Jen Soto needs to be locked away and they need to throw away the key. I get so enraged over Maddie's case because it feels like she's got no justice. The laws need to be changed. There should not be the option for someone like Stearns to plead no contest. It should either be guilty or not guilty, and you go to a trial with a jury. To be able to plead no contest when he was up for the DP was just wrong. Anyway, I get so fired up about Maddie. I will be doing another Maddie live stream on Monday. Hopefully that one won't get demonetized. But if it does, my next plan of attack will be to try doing it as premieres. Or maybe it'll just be a case where I just go, okay, well, Maddie Mondays, we know they're not going to get monetized, but we'll just keep going ahead. Because Maddie has not had justice. Maddie deserves better than what she got. Anyway, going back to these footprints on the bank. Wow. I'm just going to rewind that a little bit and replay it because this is a significant bit of information. Why is that not moving? Okay, here we go. Provable from age 8, that is the thing. And what worries me is when they were in lockdown during COVID and they were living together.
Holes. Those were her words, and I think that was into that Facebook group is when she first stated it.
Right. Yes. Yes.
And the person that stated that afterwards, they stated, "Calm down, Janie. I was just making a joke."
Mm-hmm.
As for the footprint, I never paid attention to that specific footprint in the driveway, but the kids' footprints were all over the embankment going up into the woods. There was children's footprints everywhere throughout there.
What?
Yeah, that mud embankment that you see going up the hill to where the kids' forts are.
Yep.
Well, there was children's footprints all around there.
Okay, but why are we told there was only one found?
I have no idea. Yes, the
Go ahead.
children would be visible if they were on the embankment. You probably could see them from the road if you were up handy the driveway, yes.
That is a curious question. Why the focus on the one single print in the driveway? And we can see in the photos, there's that photo of Daniel standing in the driveway pointing to it. And you can see the remains of the cement stuff that they used to take a mold, like a proper forensic mold of that boot print on the driveway. So why the focus on one boot print when it turns out they were boot prints all over the bank? But not only that, was it Daniel, I think, originally said that there were boot prints plural in the driveway? Because that print is the only one pointing off the property. But that doesn't make sense either, because the location of the print, the one that they took the mold from, is roughly the location where Janie was standing in her interview with Ali. And the thing is, to get up to the little fort, they have to go right down to where those broken down cars were to get up the bank to go to the fort. So even if that boot print was pointing in that direction, it's still pointing in the direction of the bank and in the direction of the the direction they would have had to have gone to get up to the little fort. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, Belynda, but that's my understanding, that to get up to the fort, you go up past those dead cars. So, good night, Summer Breeze. I hope you get a bit of rest. It certainly raises questions for me, and it certainly points me once again back up into the woods where that little fort is, or whatever they want to call it. The other thing, which is curious, yeah, there was a time when you could just leave your unwanted children at a church. There are a couple of spots you could go up. Oh, that explains, because Daniel also mentioned about coming back down behind Janie's RV. If the kids were to go up, they wouldn't go behind Janie's RV, presumably. So if the kids were going up, is there only one spot they could go up? Or would there be multiple spots for the kids to go up as well? Oh, yeah, that's right, because Janie's like, I raked here. So they must have been here after I raked. That makes sense. Even though we know that she wasn't really raking there. Little Black Bear, we all miss a bunch. I think there's so much with this that's the story changes constantly. There's bits of information that kind of some of us just don't hear. So there's rabbit, deer, and footpaths all through there. Multiple ways to go up. Right. And there's also like multiple paths in the wood as well. So I think there's a point in the audio that we're getting to where Belynda's talking about the deer path that didn't really go anywhere. Okay, that explains a lot, because in my head I was thinking of it as there only being one way to get up. But now I'm starting to understand things a bit better. Welcome in, Fred. Good to see you here. Deborah, I won't put that up, but yeah. They're not in the woods, but it looks like the main route that they used was the muddy slope. Is that the slope near the cars? Or is that closer to Janie's RV? Yeah, there would have been. No wonder there's prints everywhere. Given that it had been raining, I really hope that the RCMP photographed that entire bank. You're so bad, Deborah. That's okay. We will forgive you. Near the cars. Okay, yeah, I thought that must have been because that was the route that we saw Janie take also with the interview. So I was that must be the main route. I would imagine when it gets wet that the other areas would possibly be a little bit too slippery to get up, perhaps. But that definitely clarifies a lot of things for me. Certainly gets me thinking more.
And it has never been stated until now that there were all kinds of children's boot prints all over the place.
Yes, Dragonfly, Mom. Daniel's children were also up there. I'm assuming that fort was built at Easter time, going from how green it was when we were there to how throughout the summer the branches were dying off and were dead. So we assumed it must have been built because I think it was Easter or shortly thereafter that his children were there for a visit.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It was still pretty fresh when Daniel took CBC through in that first week after the kids went missing. And I can see it being an activity that you would do with the bigger kids. Yes, when you look at the old Google Earth images, like the Street View images of the property, all that's been dug out and leveled out. I don't know if the RV was moved. I suspect that they probably lifted it like they did with the trailer to check underneath. But I don't think it's been moved. Like, not physically moved from the actual location. Because you would notice, because you've got the fence, that yard around the RV. So if it was moved, then the yard wouldn't line up and you'd have a gap. And then Tucker would head off into the woods because according to Janie, if Tucker gets out, he goes. Yeah, no wheels on it. Yeah, it would be definitely hard to move it far. It is interesting, though, that, just the differences in the property over time. And something that, people... This was a sensitivity, actually. So I'm going to bring it up again. When I was looking at the images from before Daniel and Malaya moved in, before that RV was put there, and then looking at the images where the RV is now, and showing people the amount of excavation that had happened in the driveway to put that RV in. And my point was that there's a lot of work involved with that. There's a lot of digging, a lot of leveling out. Yeah, there's a few spots where it looks like it's kind of crumbled a bit. Now, I made the point that to clear that much area, unless it was someone that you knew, that would be quite an expensive job to do. Because, well, an excavator would make light work of it, but it's not as simple as it sounds. Because you have to dig it all out. You've got to move it all somewhere. Whatever you dig out, you've got to put it somewhere. And the thing afterwards is the leveling. It's the leveling it out that takes time. Digging it out, yep, you can knock that out in an hour or so. But then making it level, that takes time. So I made the point that, we're talking several hours work. When you look at the cost of diesel and things like that, if you were paying someone full price to do that job, that would be expensive. So I made the point that someone must have actually come in and done the job on the cheap for them, given that they don't seem to have huge amounts of money and given that the RV itself looks like it didn't cost much. Now we know that Earl had that old thing on his property, and maybe he came in and leveled it. But just, to me, it was a sign that there's definitely someone connected to these people that has the capacity to come in with an excavator, to go somewhere with an excavator. Just, going down that track. Oh, yeah. You would think so, wouldn't you? Just build a cottage. Because something like that RV would be so cold in winter.
So the children's boot prints that you saw all over the bank and whatnot, Daniel's other children are significantly older than Lily and Jack.
They are. I think it's his son is younger than the daughter. I think the daughter's the oldest between the two. I'm not sure.
Mhm.
But one of them, I think, might be handy, say, Lily's size boot print.
Okay, so two things. First of all, looking at the images from before Daniel moved in, I'd say that the RV was put there when Daniel and Malaya moved in. I think what I heard was that Janie was in the living in the trailer originally when Daniel and Malaya moved in, and then she moved in the RV. So she must have maybe got that after. Oh, yeah. Earl had a lot of rundown RVs on his property. I bet he provided the one on the property. That could well be the case. There's been discussion of maybe it came from Kent's property, but it just doesn't look like one that would have travelled far, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Now, going on to Daniel's children, just to clear that up. Daniel's son was the same age as Lily. His daughter was a little bit older. She turned 9 about a month or so after Lily and Jack went missing. So they were just a little bit older. Then Janie would have been down a rabbit hole. Yep. Janie never, ever complains about her grandkids. There's never any negativity towards them. In fact, you get the, they can come in and get any treats they want from her RV. And, my fridge door is like a supermarket fridge door or something like that. Sad, but true.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't pay attention to sizing. We just noticed that there was kids' prints. You could tell where they climbed up the embankment, they played around there.
Right. Okay. Well, it's just interesting that it's never come up before. Even to say, oh yeah, well there are lots of, there are kids' boot prints all over the place because of Daniel's kids, or this is where all the kids play, but only one was identified and proven to be or match Lily's, or, do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just weird.
Yes.
It's just weird that this is.
I actually don't think it's weird that it wasn't brought up before. Because when you listen to what Janie has tried to tell us, Now, we had the original story where we know from Belynda that the children would play up there quite a bit, because we've heard Belynda the first time she was on Sunny's, and she said that she asked Malaya, where do they go? Where do they like to play? And Malaya specifically said they like to go up to the forts up in the woods. And then we get Janie coming out and saying, oh, they never go in the woods. They'd never go in the woods. I would have to carry Jack. Lily wouldn't go in the woods because she doesn't like bugs. And then she kind of gives a little bit and says, well, you know, they'd go up there with my grandchildren, but only if my grandchildren were there. And they were always supervised, because we could always, first of all, she says that they could see them. And I think in the interview with Ali, she said, we could see them and hear them. Well, yeah, she doesn't say, she screams. Good point. Good point. Yes, I agree, Jessica. You can't tell me that her grandchildren didn't make noise like kids when they were playing. But we never hear anything about that. But the deflection from Janie, from they wouldn't go up in the woods. They never go up in the woods. Jack doesn't like going in the woods. You have to lift him over things. Lily doesn't go in the woods because she doesn't like bugs. And, oh, well, they might go in the woods if my grandchildren are there. And then the same with early on, if two kids get out into the driveway, and it's a really vague if. And, you know, if that happened, well, I would know because my dog would bark, saying, well, it wouldn't happen. And then we get the other shifts with that, like, well, let's just say that the children were unsupervised and they got out into the driveway. So then and it's still not saying anything about them, like, positively, like, yes, they definitely got out into the driveway at times. But then we get the slip up, in my opinion, where she's saying they don't go in the driveway because if they went in the driveway, they got yelled at to get back in, and they did. Now, I'm paraphrasing. But Janie has bent over backwards since the moment she started talking to convince people that the children never went out of that yard. So I can imagine why none of them mentioned boot prints on the banks, because that would be admitting that the children weren't playing in that safe, contained area. They're probably kind of annoyed that this information has come out now. And, you know, if they come out and do another live stream somewhere, we'll probably get a new version of this story to deal with this information. Oh, yeah, they are. It's one contradiction after the next. That's a really good point. They never talk about checking the sheds. They never talk about checking that little cubby house next to Janie's RV. All you get is Daniel, I ran up to the kids to the cabin in the woods. That's another one I haven't heard. I'll have to look that one up as well. Yep. Jack's always letting the chickens out, but apparently they never checked the chicken pen. And I'm guessing, given that when the CBC were there with Ali, that there is a shelter somewhere there that the chooks go into? Because we only saw the rooster that day. So apparently they didn't even think to check that. Malaya on Saturday said search and rescue searched the property 3 times already. I would imagine they probably did go thoroughly over the property. But it is interesting that in the stories from Daniel, from Malaya, from Janie, according to Daniel, they just checked the house briefly, went out into the yard, and then Daniel ran up into the woods. 3 to 4 hens and a rooster. Yeah, there's one image, I think, I'll see if I can find it. Bear with me for just a minute. There's that image where we can see the swings, and it's from, there it is. They'd have to have somewhere to shut the chickens up at night, that's for sure. Oh, okay, it didn't want to load my picture. I don't know why. Yeah, definitely too little too late from Malaya. But she's not saying anything. She's just doing her little media tour, essentially, which is really not doing anything. Yeah, they definitely have to shut the chickens out at night. For some reason, it's not letting me load that image. I don't know why. But you can see when you're looking through where the swings are towards the chook pen, you can see there's probably about 3 or 4 chooks there. I do wish that they'd have maybe locked down the house. The fact that you had so many people in the house on day 1, the fact that you still had Daniel, Janie, Daniel's uncles all wandering around in the woods on day 1. I just really hope that they have got footage of where Daniel was and where Janie was on day 1 with all their helicopter and their drone footage. Because, yeah, I'm still going, you were quick, Bonza. I would really like to know what they were doing on day 1 when they were completely absent, supposedly searching. Exactly. See, with Gervais' case, it sounds like they did not let I'm not going to say he's not the father. They didn't let the male monster back into the house when he got back. So it sounds like they separated him and the woman. They were onto them straight away. Whereas Jack and Lily, it sounds like it was just kind of free for all. And you would honestly think after the JonBenet Ramsey case that investigators all around the world would have learnt from that one. But we still get this same story every time. Missing children, they don't lock the property down, and then they decide the next day to bring in major crimes. Anytime a child is reported missing, in my opinion, major crimes should be there straight away. Maybe allow the parents to sit in a vehicle on the property But lock down the house, get major crimes in, go through the house. See, I'd like to know if they ever went through the house with luminol or anything like that. Yeah, they were lucky to catch Daniel heading into the woods. I'd be really curious to know what the fixation is with up in the woods behind the property. And that's where things become problematic. You know, even looking at Maddie's case, they didn't collect Maddie's mobile phone until day 2. I think it was Detective Hunt took it off Jen when he did his interview with her on the day after they reported her missing. When they reported Maddie missing, they interviewed them at Yolanda's office. That would have been a really good time to have locked down that townhouse and gotten in there before Jen and Stefan could have gotten rid of any more evidence. I mean, it was fortunate with Maddie that there were cameras everywhere and Stefan was a real dumbass. But so many cases where they give them the benefit of the doubt and then afterwards it's like, oh, wow, we probably should lock down the house first and process the house before allowing 20,000 people tramping through it. Anyway, I can't see the kids getting up to the pipeline. It's uphill. Jack was only 4 and they were wearing rubber boots. Hi, little black bear. Good to see you. All 3 people who were on that property need to be held accountable. Those kids were wearing rain boots. They weren't going far in those. They did not wander off. They were not abducted. That leaves them on the property when something happened. And we have no solid timeline from when Janie talks about coming out of the RV on this Thursday and seeing the children playing. After that, it's also very vague. Malaya thinks they might have gone outside, but she only mentioned that in the second interview. And then, you know, if they went outside, well, they would have been in before dark. There's no real discussion of what they did between when they came home from town on the Thursday and when they went to bed. Yeah, she thinks, well, they had dinner, but, you know, really doesn't know. And she thinks she bought them a bagel from Tim Hortons. And, you know, they went to bed at 9 or maybe they went to bed at 10. But, you know, who knows? And Daniel, his narrative does not exist from when he allegedly helped Janie up until when he allegedly flicked on the light at midnight. There is a massive gap in his narrative. I think Janie saying that she got Daniel to help her with the fence, is that perhaps creating an alibi? Yeah, Daniel was here right up until dark helping with the fence. But it doesn't sound like it's got any substance to it. We've got Janie talking about going inside and the children were still outside. But no mention of that from Daniel and Malaya because they're adamant that the children were inside before dark. Just, you know, and Friday morning, different stories from all of them. It's, the property should have been locked down. It shouldn't have taken, it should be protocol. Straight away, major crimes should be involved the moment a child goes missing. And I've said this before, but I think it would be good to see a card team, something like that in Canada, like a first response. So like in the States, you've got child abduction rapid response teams who are basically trained to deal with situations like this. And it would be good to see something like that established in each province in Canada, so that when children are reported missing, you have these teams that come in and it's their job to deal with these sort of things, so they are the experts. And then they can follow an agreed protocol. Just my opinion, but I just think there were so many things that were missed early on. And it is my concern that it took them that 24 hours to finally bring in major crimes. Oh, yeah. Every time their narrative is questioned, they're like changing their stories. But then they swear that their stories haven't changed. But there's a number of things from what Belynda has said in this conversation with Susan that highlight the times when their stories have changed. Whoops. Yeah. That they didn't leave the property on their own. It's just not, it didn't happen. And welcome in, darling. I think in terms of, yeah, there are still trains that run there. In terms of negligence charges, I don't think we're going to see any. I think that possibly it could be a situation where they would wait to put them in with major charges when arrests are made. But the thing is, we've pretty much had the media expose the CPS and show that the CPS screwed up on this case. The fact that their file was in the hands of a minister not long after they went missing, that right there tells you that protocols were overlooked. Because if they had done everything by the book, if they had followed protocols in that December visit, and there were no red flags where they should have followed up on, the minister's not going to be concerned. But what do we see? We get told that the case has been handed on to the minister, and you get these new laws that they're trying to push through, which would basically make it impossible to even talk about Lily and Jack. So to me, that says mistakes were made by CPS, in my opinion. Yes, these other channels that block Belynda and Chelsea because they don't want them to correct their stories. It's ridiculous. Like, why are we here? We're not here for people's egos. We're not here for, having a competition to see who can get the most views on their videos or anything like that. We're here for Lily and Jack. So these idiots that want to block the only family that seem to really give a damn about Lily and Jack, that says it all for me. And if I hear that a channel has blocked Belynda or Chelsea, you can bet that I'm not going back to watch their content, because that tells me that they're not in it for Lily and Jack. 100%. It is so important that the role of the CPS is not allowed to be swept under the rug. And I will say this, just like Maddie's case, when this case reaches a legal resolution, if we're not being given answers about the CPS investigation, you can guarantee that just like Maddie, just like Kylie, I'm not shutting up until we get answers. Because that is part of this. Yes, yes, Malaya failed to keep them safe. Yes, Daniel was clearly culpable. Janie had them on her property. So yes, we do need to still focus on their roles. But CPS went onto that property presumably after Jack got that massive black eye. You can't tell me that there weren't more red flags than that. And they walked away and did nothing. And honestly, I'm so sick of hearing of cases where courts have given custody to people who should not have been anywhere near children, like Adam Montgomery, or where CPS have not done their job. Because it just feels like the priorities are wrong. We need to go back to thinking less about offending people, thinking less about infringing on the rights of the parents, and thinking more about the actual children, in my opinion. Because I'm seeing this in Australian cases, I'm seeing this in American cases, I'm seeing this in Canadian cases. And we come out and we raise awareness over cases with children where things have gone horribly wrong, and still nothing changes. Like, something's got to give. And I think that's a large part of why I cover these cases. Because I see what is wrong with the system. And I see injustices happening. And I just cannot understand in this day and age how we can continue to just sit back and let it happen. I know I get on my soapbox a little bit too often, but it's just something I feel so passionate about. Oh, Gabrielle Fernandez. I've not heard of that one either. 4 DCFS workers knew and falsified court papers to cover up his abuse, and they got off scot-free. Well, that's this case a little while ago here in Australia, the little Kumanjaya little baby, the little Aboriginal girl up north. They had had multiple visits from CPS. Huge red flags. They did nothing. Now, being Australia, we're not going to hear anything more about any sort of consequences for child welfare workers not doing their job properly, because they'll sweep it under the rug, which is what they usually do. They'll probably find a scapegoat, and that scapegoat will be the one that cops the full force. But that scapegoat will be silenced, and you can bet it'll all be swept under the rug. Because they screw up, but they don't want people to know when they screw up. Happens everywhere, and it happens way too often. It's so wrong. Netflix has his case in true crime section. Oh, cool. I'll have to check that out. I usually only watch Netflix at my sister's house because, you know, you can only pay for so many subscriptions. So I might have to convince her to let me go watch that at some point. Yeah, if I hear a channel has blocked Chaucer or Belynda, I'm not interested in what they've got to say anymore, because they're showing that they're not in it for the right reasons. It seems like a lot of people have forgotten Lily and Jack, have just moved away from what's important in this case. And it frustrates me. Might be able to find on YouTube as well. Yeah, I'm going to look into it. I've just made a note. I've added that to my scribble all over my page. I do the same thing. I've just switched back to there's a handful of ones like HBO, and I can't think what the other one is. There's about 2 or 3 that I switch between. So I subscribe, I binge watch everything that's on there, and then I move on to another one. I unsubscribe and subscribe to a new one. Usually that's prompted by, if I'm looking for something, I use my iTunes thing. I search in Apple for whatever I'm looking for, and it tells me where to find it, and then that tells me what to subscribe to, essentially. Oh, wow. They took a child and gave them to a foster parent 20 miles from here. The foster parent ended the child and a 4-year-old boy. Yep. And there was a case recently too where there was a mother who had the child removed because she was not capable of looking after the child. And basically, I think they gave her a few practice weekend access things happening. So they let her have the child with her for a few weekends. Not any sort of extended period, just they let her have the child for a few weekends. And then they just basically put the child back into her care. They didn't keep up. They didn't give her any support. They didn't keep track of what was going on. And the child died. Oh, wow. Check your electricity plan. You get $10 subscription for a year for Netflix or Stan or whatever. Oh, I'll have to check that. That's a RAC membership. I know that you get all these different RACV discounts, but I never think to check. I couldn't tell you how many cases I've covered or how many cases I've followed where there's CPS involvement beforehand. It just... Yep. A little Kumanjaya, little baby. CPS was there the week before she was taken away. I mean, before he did that to her. They saw that the situation was really bad. And from what I'm hearing, and this is from, is it Jacinta Allen, the politician? Because she basically looked into it. You know, if you want change to happen, make sure that the child that's been gone is the niece of a politician. Basically, the conditions were really bad and she should have been removed. They put three CPS workers on administrative leave, and I believe that they put 2 of them back in work. You're way too late. It's all good, Geraldine. I don't make my live streams members only, so they're always available for replay. Oh yeah, the RAC perks have no benefit. Petrol vouchers, cinema tickets. Well, see, I've got the Village Cinema membership thing, so we get a lot of really good deals. You know, they send you out an email every Monday and send you all these wonderful membership offers and deals. So even like, you know, cheap cinema tickets doesn't really help. Yep. That's the other thing. I mean, the guy was released less than a week before he abducted her. Not only that, but his own mob said, we don't want him. So he should not have been near that little girl. Anyway, on that note, I can hear little paws dancing all around the place behind me. So clearly the chihuahuas are awake, which means it's time for me to hop off here and start doing the chihuahua mum thingy instead. I'm guessing they need to go outside at the very least. So I'm going to finish there. Thanks for coming in, people. Just marking where I'm at. The system really does need to be fixed, that's for sure. Thanks for coming in. I've enjoyed reading everyone's contributions. I love it when there's this great discussion happening in here. It's always good. If you haven't hit the like button, please hit the like button on your way out. If you are new, please subscribe to my channel. If you're listening on replay, please leave a comment. Even if you're here on the live stream, feel free to go and leave a comment. And I'll catch you in the next one.